Lakshmi Das. This is her second innings with us. She was here earlier too. I was not very sure whether it is the same Lakshmi, but she told me that. So this Lakshmi turns out to be a very many, what do I call her? Extremely versatile, I must say, from physics and poetry to ecofem, gender and climate change. She's actually tackling a whole lot of things and very fascinating to each one of them. So as you all know from the brochure we shared yesterday, Lakshmi is here with us to talk to us on gender and climate change. And as a person who has been working with, I'm sure the ecological dimensions of sanitary pads and gendering, etc., I think Lakshmi has a lot to tell us. And this is a very vital, burning issue of the day. So I think without any delay, let us listen to Lakshmi. I request, most welcome Lakshmi once again to our department, and feeling extremely happy to have you here. So now I invite our research scholar, Sayuja Santosh, to give the formal welcome. Yes, over to you, Sayuja.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are, Sayuja.
Okay, ma'am. So, good afternoon, everybody, respected teachers and my dear friends. So, we are back again with yet another research forum. We have with us Ms. Lakshmi Das to converse with us on the topic gender and climate change. I'm pretty sure that it is a very exciting topic, and any discussion on climate change is very much relevant today. So, before we move on, let me introduce Ms. Lakshmi Das to you. She is a postgraduate from St. Teresa's College, Autonomous, Ernakulam, and is currently working as the coordinator of Pad for Sisters program, ECOFEM, Auroville. She is the co-founder and president of Manushi, a non-profit organization working at Kumli, which aims at promoting menstrual health and hygiene education in rural areas, along with facilitating income generating activities for women in the area. She has authored 2 books, On the Way Back Home and Letters from the Blue Hills. Apart from this, she has contributed to other short story and poetry collections as well. She has published several articles on the area of climate action. So I gladly welcome you, ma'am, to our research forum. I also welcome each and every one of you who are here, and I hand over the mic to you, ma'am.
Thank you. So, so I just wanted to know, few things, because since we are in Kerala, and I just want to know if there is anyone who doesn't follow Malayalam, because since we are talking about something that is very close to us, be it gender or be it climate, I to quote examples from our very local perspectives, or to share experiences, it would be nice if we can have a mix of languages. So is there anyone who doesn't follow Malayalam here?
No, Lakshmi, everybody understands Malayalam.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
You
So
can,
all right.
yeah. You can very bravely speak in Malayalam, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll be sharing a screen, so you can pin the screen if you would like, if you're on the mobile. So yes. Okay. So, I know you're all aware of the title of the presentation. So it's climate change and gender, and how we can bring women to the forefront of climate resilience through community participation. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഒരു ടോപ്പിക്കിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറയാനായിട്ട് ഇന്നിപ്പം ഈ ഒരു സെമിനാറിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ എനിക്കൊരു ചെറിയൊരു കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. കാരണം നമ്മളൊരു അക്കാഡമിക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു റിസർച്ച് ഫോറത്തിൽ നമ്മൾ സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇതിനെ എങ്ങനെ എന്താ പറയാ, നമ്മളൊരു അപ്പാർട്ട് ഫ്രം ദി പ്യുവർലി important that as a society we begin to understand the different nuances of gender needs to be addressed at the earliest, because we are going to face a situation where this gender politics that exists in our society is going to be a problem for our everyday life in a very climate change, or when we talk about the effects of climate change, one thing that usually happens is ഒരു പോളിസി ലെവലിലാണ് നമ്മൾ സംസാരിക്കുക. നമ്മൾ ഇത്ര ലക്ഷം മരങ്ങൾ നട്ടുപിടിപ്പിച്ചു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ ഫോസിൽ ഫ്യൂൽ കൺസംഷൻ നമ്മൾ ഇത്രയും കുറയ്ക്കുന്നു, അല്ലെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ 2070 നമ്മൾ കാർബൺ നെഗറ്റീവ് ആകുന്നു എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോളിസി ലെവൽ ചേഞ്ചസിനെ കുറിച്ച് നമ്മൾ കേൾക്കാറുണ്ട്. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് എന്താ പറയുന്നത്, ഇറ്റ് ലുക്സ് ലൈക്ക് ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് someone else's responsibility to address climate change, and somehow we're being made to believe that the problems that we face in terms of our mental health, in terms of our gut health, in terms of the quality of the air we, it is sort of being made to feel that these things are not really in our control. So the whole idea of when we talk about gender or the discourse of gender, there is something that we call agency that to focus on in this discussion that we are having about gender and climate change, because I think this word of agency often gets erased from the whole dialogue of climate resilience and climate change activism, and particularly when we include women in the dialogue of climate change. So why or I know I put a lot of ideas together in one sentence, but I think we'll go together through each of these points and try to understand how these two aspects or these two concepts are interlinked, and how we can act upon it as a society, as a community. So as a literature student, when I was doing my PG, or even without being a literature student, like ma'am said, I did my undergrad in physics. Gender is something that has been very close to me as a person, because it is something that decides how we perceive ourselves also. It is not just how society perceives a gender, it is also about how we perceive ourselves. And in this dialogue, a lot of times, as a person who identifies as a woman, as a person who identifies as a female, I have felt that my agency is being taken away by very archaic patriarchal concepts on what is good for me, what is right for me, what is the kind of clothes that I should wear, what is the kind of opinions that I should have, and what will save me. So if we look at what is happening on a political level, if you look at Jeff Bezos and what is the other guy, they're all planning on going to outer space, because somehow it is being made to feel that the whole game of who is bigger is gonna win out of the whole situation of destroying the planet. No one can win out of the situation, and patriarchy has not done any good to the planet, has not done any good to the women, and it is on that same line that we need to understand, if we are looking forward to a positive climate action, then that should be focused on feminine aspects of looking at nature, and on feminine ways of addressing the issue, rather than just taking up arms and going and fighting. So this it is not saving that the earth needs, it is not saving that a woman needs also, for that matter. And here when that is not the case, then what is needed is a sensible and sensitive approach to the issues that we have as a society. And now coming to why we need participation of women in climate resilience, like I said, the whole impact of how we have been dealing with the issue of climate crisis, or land degradation, it has not really been a successful strategy so far we have not seen anything. And in smaller communities, in communities like ഇപ്പൊ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞല്ലോ, ഞാനൊരു ഗ്രാമത്തിൽ ജനിച്ചു വളർന്ന ആളാണ്. അപ്പം എന്നെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് കുമിളി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, കുമിളിയിലുള്ള ഒരുമാതിരിപ്പെട്ട എല്ലാവരെയും തന്നെ ഞാൻ നേരിട്ട് പോയി കണ്ട എനിക്ക് അവരെ മുഖപരിചയമുള്ള ആൾക്കാരാണ്. അപ്പം ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള എന്റെ നാട് എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറയുന്ന ഈ സ്ഥലത്ത് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് എ സ്മോൾ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി. ആൻഡ് ഈ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റിയിൽ ഇവിടുത്തെ സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് ക്ലൈമറ്റ് ചേഞ്ച് കൊണ്ട് വന്നിട്ടുള്ള ചില പ്രശ്നങ്ങളെ ഞാൻ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഐ ഷെയർ ദോസ് ഇഷ്യൂസ് വിത്ത് യു, ജസ്റ്റ് ടു ഗിവ് യു ആൻ അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡിങ് ഓഫ് ഹൗ small communities are being critically affected by climate crisis, and how how that is the point from where we should start including women in climate resilience, and also understanding what is the effect of climate change on gender related issues on the planet, or at least in our community. So here, those of you who are aware of Kumuli, it is one of the cardamom bells. Okay, നമ്മുടെ വെസ്റ്റേൺ ഗാർഡ്സിൽ ഏലക്ക ഒരുപാട് കൃഷി ചെയ്യുന്ന സ്ഥലമാണ്. അപ്പം ഏലക്ക തോട്ടങ്ങളിൽ പണിക്ക് വരുന്ന സ്ത്രീകളെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് they come early in the morning and they start working, year round there is work. And once the quality of the land degrades, once the climate begins to become rather difficult to predict, what actually happens is that there is an extensive abuse of pesticides and fertilizers, chemical fertilizers in these farms, which these women are directly exposed to. And when I say pesticides and chemical things, even chemicals like those that are banned legally are still being bought in and pumped into the land so that there is yield. But we're not addressing the fact that the yield is decreasing because the soil is depleting, or because the rains are erratic. We're not addressing that. We're just we're trying to pump the soil with artificial fertilizers and see that it is coming out. So there is a direct expose to toxic chemicals among these women, and not just women for that matter. There are also men working in these plantations, but there are more women working in these plantations. And the problem here that we see is when the price of cardamom reduces, the women, those who were getting say 500 rupees per day as an income, they'll not be getting that much amount. So this forces them to get labor or get a job in some other place. And the whole thing is like, one lady was telling me she goes out of her house at 4 a.m. in the morning and comes back by 7 p.m. at night. And this is during the pandemic, when we were when we literally, all of us were struggling to get the ends meet. So this situation of the woman juggling between a number of jobs to keep her household intact happens as one of the effects of climate change on our agrarian economy. So, and we know our country hugely is dependent on agriculture. There are maybe not, it is not very visible in Kerala for us, but let us look at the other parts of the country. It is women who work in the fields. And when we say that the global temperature is going to increase by 2 degrees, then the truth is you cannot go out in the sun and work in the field. It is not possible. You can die of a sunstroke. So this and this also means many other things, because if you are fetching water from a nearby water body or from a well, and if the situation is such that you have a flood and a drought, you don't have a stable climatic situation, then where do these people go and fetch their water from? So in most of the communities, in most of the marginalized communities that we can look at, it is women who are always at the end of meeting with the resources from the nature. So it is really important that we empower them to make choices or to have opinions about what is happening to their immediate climate, at least to their immediate environment. We need to build agency among the women of the community, and that is the only way in which we can find lasting solutions to the climate crisis that is ahead of us. And when I say this, I also want to address one thing, that it is not about listening to a number of statistics or to listening to a number of data. The point is, like, what is it that we can do? we have a problem here, we have a crisis here. If we look at it, all of us are part of some community or the other. At least we're part of some residents association. If we are part of a community, do you think you are facing such a crisis in this, but in that community that you're part of? If you're part of that community, and if you think you can do something there, what is it that you can do? That is the only thing that I want all of you to take away from this, because that is the whole point of this paper that I'm presenting also. Because this is not about to make a lot of noise saying that things are bad. We know things are bad. It is not that we don't know that things are bad. The only thing is, we're wondering if we can bring in a solution. And so what I want to say is, we can bring in a solution. Individuals, small groups of people, we're capable of bringing in a difference to the world that we live in, bit by bit, small numbers at a time. We need not work to get the Nobel Prize. That is not necessary. We just need to work to make sure that the 10 families that we live close to are having access to good food, that there is food security in terms of, like, say, I think we were having a discussion about this the other day. When we go and look at the farms that are there in the nearby places, and we see that agriculture is not profitable for the small farmers. If the small farmers are feeling that they cannot maintain uh, agriculture like this, with the rising fuel prices or whatever is happening, and they cannot maintain agriculture, what will we do if this becomes the situation, or this keeps accumulating over a period of 5 years? It's almost impossible for us to think of living without vegetables, for that matter, because, like, I cannot think of that, because that will lead to more severe nutrition problems in our world. So if that is the case, are we skilled enough to make our own food? Do we know how to grow our own food? Or are we still brainwashed by the idea of mass production in some big farm, and they give us food in packages? We need to look at the fact that we need, as a society, we need to learn to adapt to the climate issues that we are going to have. And when we do that, it requires skill building, it requires collective thinking, it requires ownership as a collective, as a community. So all of these aspects are there. And so, to begin, where do we begin? And the beginning is, we begin with the women in the community. And the reason for that is, like I said, women are more vulnerable to climate change because of a number of factors that include social, political, economic, and cultural factors. And these numbers are there, and you can look at the numbers. But I think more than the numbers, this is a reality that you can look out of the window, and you'll see this when there is a crisis, it affects the women of the family. It is not because we're talking about the gender roles, because this is the reality of the society that we are living in. It would be absolutely beautiful if this was not the case. But if we have to build a community where that is not the case, we need to do something. We cannot hope that things will change and see to it that it change. Unless we act, I don't think there is a change happening. So here, I had mentioned this while I was speaking, so but I just want to point out just one more thing. When there is negligible participation of women in decision making, the ability to confront climate change also becomes very less. So this is one thing that I want to highlight about this particular slide. So this is where Manushi started working as an organization, where we wanted to bring in the participation of women, or to bring in agency to them, so that they can participate in decision making and consequently be able to confront the issues of climate change that happen in the coming time. So like when I speak about climate change, and when I speak about that the fact that there is a whole crisis that is looming above us, sometimes even I feel like, oh, maybe I should tone it down a little bit. But the truth is, like, just 3 days back, I went to some of the farmers here, and they were saying that they are planning to quit doing agriculture, like in Tamil they say இனிமே நாங்க விவசாயம் பண்ண மாட்டோம் ஏன்னா இதுல எந்த விதமான லாபமும் இல்ல. So it translates to there is no profit in this, like we cannot get the ends meet, so we're planning to start raising pork, I mean pig. They want to raise pigs because that is more profitable. But like those of you who are not aware of this, so the whole veganism movement, if you can look up that, you can understand that meat industry is one of the major driving factors of methane and carbon dioxide pollution that is causing global warming. And when we say this is not in the sense of uh, you know I am not yet a vegan, so I'm not talking about the idea of becoming a vegan, but I'm telling you that when farmers say that instead of planting vegetables, or instead of planting those, they want to go into meat industry, even if it is a small number, that really like is an indicator of how climate is affecting what we will be eating, and in relation to that, what we are going to be putting it out into the world as a waste. So these are critical issues, and as young people, as as people who will be at the other end of whatever is going to happen in the planet, I think it is upon us to identify what we can do, so that at least we say our family is able to go through the situations that might arise in the coming 10 years. So how can we do this is what we are going to look at in the next few slides. And so how can we, like now I said, it is necessary to bring women to the forefront of climate resilience. How will you do it? So when I started working here in Kumuli, one thing that we asked the women, like menstrual health awareness classes എടുക്കാനായിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഞങ്ങൾ ട്രെയിനിങ് തന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങൾ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റീസിൽ പോയി ചെയ്യുമോ എന്നുള്ളൊരു ചോദ്യമായിരുന്നു എനിക്ക്. അപ്പൊ അന്നേരം ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അന്നേരം അവർ അഡ്രസ്സ് ചെയ്ത ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, ലക്ഷ്മി ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് വരണം എന്ന് ആഗ്രഹമുണ്ട്, പക്ഷെ ഓട്ടോയ്ക്ക് കൊടുക്കാനുള്ള പൈസ ഞങ്ങളുടെ കയ്യിലില്ല, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാം നടക്കുന്നിടത്ത് വരാനുള്ള അതിനുള്ള ചെലവിനെടുക്കാനുള്ള പൈസ ഞങ്ങളുടെ കയ്യിലില്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. That is one problem that we need to pick up and answer. See, I don't know if you've heard this, like you cannot go and preach morality, you cannot go and preach anything that you consider to be the good virtue to a person who is hungry. They just want food. Like give them food and then talk about all the higher ideals that you want to talk about. If you're addressing a community that has an issue of financially being not able to do the bare minimum in their lives, then it doesn't make sense for us to go there and say that you need to participate in climate resilience activities, that you need to stop buying all the plastic because it is damaging the earth, whereas they would not be able to buy medicine for themselves for a illness that they're struggling with for more than a year. So where we are working in, what community we are working in, we need to cater to the problem that the community is facing, particularly the women of the community are facing, so as to bring in participation from them towards any kind of climate action. So, and this is possible, like this is called a participatory model, like we bring in participation from the people to activities by addressing what is their problem, what is it that they're struggling with. So this is one way to bring people into participation. And when I say how do you do this, or how can you make it happen, is say I'll give you an example of what we did here. So the point was to start a discussion about climate action, or about sustainability, or about using eco-friendly products, and to bring an awareness, or to cultivate an awareness about women and their ability to make informed choices about their body through menstrual and sexual health education. So this is going backwards, because to be honest, like, my point when I started working in the community was to talk about gender, to talk about sexual rights, to talk about women, and how they can take lead about their life, or how they can bring in agency. But in order to talk about it, or in order to bring people together to discuss this, or to start a dialogue about this, uh, the first step was to empower them financially, to develop economic models so that they could earn something for themselves as individuals, and through that have an ownership about their own life, and with that ownership take charge and have agency about their own lives and about the situations that happen in their life. So this is this is one way that I started working, but that doesn't mean this is the only way in which you can participate in community action. If you're working in a city, if you're working in a crowd where you have working women or people who are already able to make decisions for themselves, then maybe what you need to do there might be a completely different strategies, something that is completely different to bring people into climate action. And just to put this in perspective, why is this needed, or why is climate action important for women, is on many levels actually. If we look at our own body, if we look at the fact that we are menstruating beings, it is a clear indication of how our bodies are in tune with the rest of the existence. Like, you look at anything in nature, look at the stars, look at the weather, look at anything in existence that is around you. It is always cyclical in nature. It is an embodiment of the very essence of nature, that we have menstruation, or that we have a menstrual cycle. And our bodies are so capable of relating, or our bodies are so responsive to the environment in which we are living, that it is very easy for a woman to take this whole climate action as a way of being, because that is very true for each of the people that we are. And when I say this, the wisdom of life and death, this is something that we say at ecofam, like, every month uh, our bodies go through the process of a literal kind of a death, or of a rebirth. And the wisdom that comes with such an experiential understanding of life, that should be the premise of any climate action or any development that we are looking at in the coming years. Because insensitively we have been looking at development, we have been looking at like cutting down acres of trees and building huge constructions, only to realize that if we have to live in one of those, we need the air conditioners, and the air conditioners are further heating up the environment. So this didn't work. So maybe it is time we start thinking what is the other way. And there is a wisdom in that feminine understanding of life. So this is also one of the premises where we need to look at gender and climate, because this is not two separate ideas that we're talking about. And coming back to
Lakshmi,
the yeah.
Lakshmi, can I interfere?
Yeah.
Are you sharing the screen? I think it's not visible for. I don't know if it's
Oh,
my problem, but
oh, really? Okay, I'll share it again once more.
I think there are messages in the chat section. So,
Oh, since mine is a full screen, I couldn't see that.
oh, okay.
Is it visible now?
No.
No.
Is it
Oh,
visible for others?
Oh, Lakshmi, I thought you were not sharing. Even I can't
oh,
see.
okay. I'll just put it again. I
And I
think.
couldn't see the messages also. It was not coming clear in my.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'll just quickly
Yeah,
run.
now it is visible. Now it's
Yes,
visible.
yes.
I hope it's visible to everyone.
Right. Okay. So
Is it visible to all?
Yes, I think now it's visible.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
okay. So great. Right. So, coming back to this point that I was saying, it is when we are talking about economic models that we are planning to implement in the community, we need to see what is, geographically, socially, and culturally specific to that community. What is the requirement? What is needed in that community? What is it that we need to address? So we need to look at our strategy based on that also. So that is one thing that is really important when we are looking at the dynamics of gender and climate, because it is very specific to a location. You cannot make a global policy about that, because that doesn't work. What is true for people in Kumuli might not be true for what is people in Kozhikode. It'll not be true for what is for a person in Pondicherry. So we need to develop, as like I said, small small communities, like small residence associations that are there. We need to take charge of looking at what is it that we can do to be more climate resilient as a small community. And once we start working in a group of 10 people, and like you connect another 10 people to do that, you connect another 10 people, so this becomes like a, it's like a small ripple effect gets created. And then maybe we'll be getting allies, we'll be getting collaborations between these small groups, and we can bring about a change only if we start with the smallest number. So with the educational capital that we have, with the social capital that we have, we need to invest in our communities, in the smallest of communities that we work in, and only then can we look at a broader perspective of that. And so also with children, like when we talk about climate change and gender, one thing that I did a course, it is a MOOC course and it is available. So those of you who are interested, you can look up this course. It is nature based solutions for climate change. So in one of those courses, what they were specifically saying is that I'll show you that slide. So, empowerment of women and local communities through implementation work, sensitization campaigns, and promotion of sustainable livelihoods can be an extremely wise and sustainable project investment. Women have the potential to play a critical role in this process, as they use and manage land and other natural resources while meeting water, food, and energy needs in the households and communities. So here, when we say that it is women who play a critical role, it is also equally important to address that along with women, it is children also who come in this bracket. Because if we are to include women in climate action, that by default also means that we're including children in climate action. So that is yet another point where as a community, when we work in climate action with women, we simultaneously engage children in this, and that becomes a further investment for us as a society on what we are doing. So as a generation, it is really important that we bring forth a sense of involvement and ownership among children about the situation of the planet, and without making it sound like everything is bad and everything is gonna end in crisis. No, we need to like we nurture the spirit of fraternity, like we nurture the spirit of we should be there for each other. The planet and the child should not be separate. Like I said, the planet and us are not separate. So that belonging, if we can nurture as a society, then I think young minds will have better ideas on how to make sure that the planet doesn't degrade further, and how we can mitigate climate change, even at small communities. If we are looking at policy changes, yes, that is required, and that is being done, because as a society, we see that a lot of policy level changes are happening. But how long will they take to come into effect into the smallest of communities. But whereas those of us who have education, those of us who have been, have access to technology, who have access to information, who have access to different tools by which we can mobilize our community, what can we do to make sure that before that 10 years of time when the policy will be implemented, what can we do to make it hasten? How can we hasten the process of working for a climate resilience? So there, working with children is also really important, and as college students, as research scholars, maybe somewhere, like that's my only hope, as a society where we take it upon ourselves. We don't wait for someone else to come and say that this is what you need to do. And so I think I'll just skip the part where what we are doing as an organization, but I just want to tell you what started out with me and Pooja sitting and discussing about, we need to talk about cloth pads to more women. That is the premise of our work. That is where we started as an organization. Manushi started with me and Pooja talking about it, and with that we have been able to reach out to over 2,500 young girls and women over a period of 1.5 years. So this, I'm not talking numbers to say that we did this. I'm saying this is possible. It is just that if we have an intention, if we have an idea that we want to execute, then we can always find a way. And how or the how to's of things might be a little tricky in the beginning, but we can always make it happen, because this is the need of the hour as a society, that we need to own up what is going on, and make sure that something happens in the society. Because otherwise, with all the education that we've got, it will just be more like it didn't happen at all also. So we started in December 2020, and primarily we were only working with menstrual health education and sustainable practices. And like I said, that was on the premise of helping women to make an informed choice. But that initiative of where my focus was only on gender and my focus was on female health, how that translated into climate action is the whole point of where I wanted to talk about how gender and climate action comes together. It is not two separate concepts. So we have been working with marginalized groups of communities here, and also have been working with women to develop livelihood by economic initiatives. And like I said, that was one of the primary agenda that we had, because if we want women to participate in climate action, we need to empower them financially, and we need to make sure that they have a source of income, so that they can come out and do what they want to do, that they can participate in awareness activities, that they can participate in building their community. So if I did not have a job, so that is one thing that I want to say. When I started doing this work in the community, I had a full-time job. I still have a full-time job while I'm doing Manushi's work. So that is also that was really important, because I come from a middle class family, and I cannot uh, be without earning an income for myself, because I am responsible for my family's financial situation also. So this means I had to juggle between, working a full-time job and prioritizing what social work I do. And that is yet again another, key point to a socio-economic situation that we have in India. Like, if you want to do social work, if your financial situation is not allowing you, or if your financial situation is not uh, stable enough for you to go out and work, it is almost impossible to do that. So if that is true for you, then imagine that this is true for all the other women out there also. So when we invite women to participate in climate action, maybe it is also necessary to think, how can we make this an opportunity for a sense of uh, autonomy, or a sense of agency through financial independence. How can we make it happen in that way also, if you're working in rural communities? So yeah. And so when it comes to rural groups of women, uh, we are working to create an opportunity for financial sustenance. So how do we do that is what we're going to look at. So in the first phase of work, we identified 5 women who were willing to, work in an income generation activity, uh, so that they can have a source of income, and thus make sure that they can participate in awareness, or creating awareness about sustainable menstrual products, or female health, and other sustainable practices that the community can take up. So when we looked at it, we had four to five women ready to take up small initiatives like making handmade soaps, cloth bags, mushroom cultivation. And when we identified this group of people, what the next thing that we did with them is to build capacity of each of these individuals by, say if it is mushroom farming, training them to cultivate mushroom. How can you train, how do you do this well, how do you get a stable income from this, how do you manage the finances, all of these aspects. Once we equip them with the necessary skill of doing a business or to do a venture, then it is not just giving people a job, it is also skilling or upskilling them to make sure that they are capable of doing something on their own. So, and this is not a very capital intensive project that I'm talking about. This could be like, say, someone in your neighborhood knows how to make good pickles. So if there is a woman who requires who financial assistance and who is willing to work, and if you can say raise 5,000 rupees as an initial capital, and if you can help them to like procure the raw materials and start a business, then that business becomes that person's source of economic sustenance, and also an opportunity for them to participate in any sort of community activity, because now they have an agency over their own life. And this is something that we can do. This is not this does not require an office, this does not require a training center, this does not require any of these things. It's just an intention that we put out in the world, like, are we willing to do this little bit for the people in our community? So capacity building is that. I'm not talking about capacity building in terms of a big project. It's these small things that we can do as capacity building. And once we build a capacity, and once we started looking at what can we sell within the community. Okay, so if it is handmade soaps, if it is pickles, or any of these things, understand your market, understand where you want to help these women sell these products, or if it is a service, understand where you can make a revenue from this. So these small tips that you can work, these small tips that you can take it from here and you can implement in your community. And once you set a once you define a market, and once this starts rolling, then this becomes a very sustainable model, because people realize that this is something that is being done by the members of their own community, so they need to support this. And once there is a support, and once the women feel that these economic initiatives are paying them, this gives them a sense of ownership to the whole project. This gives them a sense of ownership to what they are doing. And once they feel that, okay, this I'm doing something and I'm capable of pulling something through, and I'm not putting my family at the risk of being hungry, I'm not putting my children at the risk of not getting enough nutrition. When that happens, what we directly experience is that women coming and saying that, okay, now that we have a self sustenance for ourselves, we want to participate in taking classes, we want to take classes and tell the women in our community how to make a switch to sustainable period products, or how to make chemical free products, how to maybe how to upskill each other with different things to create collaborations. So once there was a financial sustenance, we could see that women were willing to participate in climate action in the smallest of ways. So, what climate action were we doing in the initial phases? We were just talking about sustainable period products. It is only now that we started talking about climate resilient agriculture. It is now that we started talking about how we can, in small communities, make sure that we have enough vegetables for our families at least. So, these are things that we're doing now. In the first phase, it was just this. We started out with an awareness in the whole community, creating awareness about sustainable menstruation, and then we realized that, okay, if we need participation, we need to empower them. And once we empowered them, this became like, now I don't have to be part of the whole movement. I can exit and I can do something else, because this has become a self-sustaining activity on its own, because the community took it up. And this is where I think it is very beautiful to understand that any form of climate action where we involve women and we empower them, this becomes very sustainable. The whole terminology of sustainability comes in here, and you can visibly see that sustainability happening, because that is the beauty of climate action that is focusing on the women of the community. So it becomes an action or an initiative that is that is more capable of adapting to the requirements of the society, that is adapting to the requirements of what is happening socially and culturally, because it is not like a straight line. It is more like a space. We are building a space when we involve uh, women into the mechanics of this climate action, and and let them govern the movement, rather than just to say that, okay, no, you go and do this. So always, I think, as a society, with the whole patriarchal idea of saving people, uh, there is this whole ego that we have, that we need to save someone else. uh, it's we take it upon ourselves to save someone else. Maybe it is uh, the real action that needs to happen is to show people how they can save themselves, and it shouldn't be anymore about the satisfaction of the ego of the social worker. It should be about how we can empower another person to live an equally dignifiable and respectable and just life, just as we do. And in that premise, if we can build communities, if we can bring women into the forefront of climate action, then those activities become extremely sustainable, and also become spaces for a continuous engagement in the community, and become spaces for change that is lasting, rather than changes that are just temporary and on the surface. So once we really empower women, then that is a very sustainable solution to the climate change that is happening, and how we can address it depending on what comes. Okay, we do not know what is going to happen in the coming 5 years, maybe, because we really don't know how the planet is gonna throw us around, because we see that the rains have become so erratic. We've seen that there are droughts and there are floods, and we see that so much is going on. We really don't know what is going to come in the coming 5 years. So we need to build people who are responsive, like who can respond to a crisis, rather than have solutions prefabricated for them. So what can we do is, as far as I know, invest in the women of the community for climate action. And so I'll wind up with this. And this is quite an elaborate topic to talk about, and I don't know if I've done justice to you people listening to me. But I would actually love to have questions from you. I would love to listen. If you would like to ask me anything, with whatever little I know about the topic, I would like to share that with you. Yeah. Shalini?
Uh, okay, am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible now.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for that wonderful presentation. At this juncture, I think it is very important that we understand how empowering women, as she said, how empowering women can lead to more impactful solutions and changes. So it is very important that we carry on this conversation that Lakshmi has just started, and so it's the platform is open now for more questions and to continue the conversation. So I think if anyone has any questions, please.
I mean, it needn't be questions also. It can just be what are your thoughts on the same. Like, maybe we can. I think it is really important that we bring in that spirit of collaboration as a community, because it's no longer about us feeling afraid of our opinions. We need to voice them. Like, this is just something that I put because to show you an impact in numbers about what we could do between a span of 1 year. And so this, I just hope we inspire each other in a collective, rather than uh, feel intimidated.
Are there no more questions? Or no questions at all? Or nothing, no observations or anything? I think there's a problem with network in the college. I mean, so many people are just. Okay, so Lakshmi, there's something I would like to ask. Since, you know, since we're talking about how we should invest in communities, community-based developments. So I would like to know about the examples, of young people who came forward, in within Kerala, if there has been any, like, maybe college students or someone, apart from this, these examples that you have discussed, is there a movement like that Greta Thunberg started? Is there something like a movement or something based on a particular issue, like the Chipko movement or something like that? If there is any such examples from Kerala.
So I'm not really sure of if we have youth led movements that uh, I can quote per se, but I know a lot of individuals who are doing a number of things across the country. Like, say one person that has really inspired me to take action is one Dr. Abraham Thomas, who's working in Kodur, in Andhra Pradesh. So he's a dentist. He's a practicing dental surgeon, and he works in the village of Kodur, and he has been working to see to it that millets are being brought back into farming. Okay, so he's someone who is working to see to it that the farmers are not uh, giving up on millets as a crop. So this is one work that he has been doing, and he has been working to create a market for the millets by procuring the millets from the farmers and setting up a store for other people to come and buy it. So it's in a way, it's just one person who thought, okay, this is necessary for us to invest in. And I also know of Dr. Manju, who is working in Thrissur, who runs an organization called Forest Post. So she's one of the persons who is working with the Adivasis of Thrissur to set up small, what do you say, it's but it is actually it's a collective project where women come in and work for Forest Post. Whereas like if you are to ask me, what I have been doing here is like, instead of centralizing the whole process, we have tried to decentralize it, and we have given support for the women to produce it, and we've just helped them to market the products. Whereas Dr. Manju, she's doing something where the women are getting employment from the Adivasi communities, and she's trying to bring to the market the traditional wisdom and all the traditional recipes of the communities to the people. And so it's actually kind of beautiful. And another example that I know of is where we have, she's actually from Kerala, but her work is based out of Tirupur. But she's a person who's working on natural dyeing or earth dyeing. So earth is like മണ്ണ് വെച്ചിട്ട് തുണി ഡൈ ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ഇനിഷ്യേറ്റീവ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരാളെ എനിക്കറിയാം. So these are all individuals who has been thinking differently, and she brings the women in her community together to do the dyeing process, and that gives them an income. And so the beauty of all these initiatives is that they're all based on the principle of sustainability. They're based on the idea that we should not harm the environment more. So when that is there, when that idea is there, and when you're working on an economic initiative that is based on that principle, then our focus is no longer about making more profit. It is even the people who are invested, or people who are working as part of you, get to understand that you need not have a lot of money to live, to be honest. So whenever you make profit that is on a certain level exponential, you are actually sacrificing something. Like the planet suffers for that. When you make an unimaginable profit, the planet suffers because of that. So when small communities come together and do business and do that for sustenance, do that for livelihood, then we also are fighting the whole idea of making profits out of everything. Sometimes it can just be about livelihood. It can be about making a living. And these few people that I mentioned are some of the people who have been doing it beautifully.
Thank you,
Am I
Lakshmi.
audible? I am
Yeah,
facing severe network issues.
I think it's the problem with the whole campus right now.
No, I just would like to share an observation that I used to feel that it might be because, as you said, women are the people who are mostly affected by climate change or other environment disaster. It is they who used to uh, join and protest against it, I think. Because in Mailamma, Plachimada issue, we see a leader Mailamma, or in other issues like as Shalini mentioned, the issue of that Chipko movement. I think such movements are always dominated by women. And if we even take endosulfan issue, it is a very severe. It was a very severe issue, and is still. And even in that, even the women who are at home are coming out to protest against its evil effects. Uh, do you think so?
Yeah, it
Isn't the
will.
women?
It is like, that is exactly what I also believe in. Because when we talk about climate change and gender, it is, I don't think it is two separate things. Because personally, if a natural calamity happens, it'll be the women who will be first affected. And when the environment or when the land is getting depleted, it'll be the women who will first recognize it. And when they see that there is if we don't do something for this, that it's going to be catastrophe, they will stand up for it. Because it is more on the levels of it's like you have that instinct of uh, bringing forth life and nourishing it and nurturing it. So that innate quality, I think, somewhere is so strong. It's not, I'm not talking about the idealized version of the motherhood, I'm not talking about that, but then there is this nurturing feminine quality. And I think that just as much we talk about it as a subtle force, just like we talk about in myth, there is also this violent womanly force, which is which is all encompassing and all powerful. So it's just shakti, basically we say that, no? So I think this, it's women or that feminine energy that will stand up when when things are really bad and they like there's no exit. I think then the world will look up to the women and ask, what can you do? So yeah, maybe the whole phrase of "we are the granddaughters of the witches you couldn't burn" comes true on some level.
And since I lost network, I don't know whether you mentioned about it. Now we are in an era where many women, especially girls, come forward to use menstrual cups. It is a, isn't it a great change towards an environmental
Yes, yes,
protection of environment and
definitely.
against climate change?
തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും എന്താ വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മള് സസ്റ്റൈനബിൾ മെൻസ്ട്രൽ പ്രാക്ടീസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നതിൻ്റെ അകത്ത് ഒരു എൻവയോൺമെന്റൽ ആസ്പെക്റ്റിനപ്പുറം നമ്മൾക്ക് ഒരു എന്താ പറയുക, ഒരു ഫാർമസ്യൂട്ടിക്കൽ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രി നമ്മൾക്ക് എന്താണ് സാനിറ്ററി, എന്താണ് ആരോഗ്യത്തിന് നല്ലത് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് വിറ്റുകൊണ്ടിരുന്ന സാധനം തന്നെ നമുക്ക് ക്യാൻസറും ഒവേറിയൻ ഡിസീസസും ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നു എന്ന് തിരിച്ചറിയുന്നിടത്ത് അത് തന്നെ വലിയൊരു വിപ്ലവമാണ്. അവിടെ തന്നെ നമ്മൾ ഈ പറയുന്ന പോലെ പ്രകൃതിക്ക് വേണ്ടിയും അവനവന് വേണ്ടിയും നമ്മൾ ശബ്ദമുയർത്താണ്. സോ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് എ വെരി പവർഫുൾ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെന്റ് ഇഫ് യു ആസ്ക് മീ. ലൈക്ക് ഐ പേഴ്സണലി കെയിം ഇൻ ടു ദ ഹോൾ മൂവ്മെന്റ് ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് sustainable menstrual practices. എന്നെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് that was my initiation into the whole thing, and that is always very powerful.
Yeah, ma'am. As you mentioned, whatever affect nature in depth also affect health of women also in depth.
Yeah, definitely.
Are there no more comments or questions? Can anyone check the chat box if anyone has put anything?
Apparently, there has been a current failure at the campus. So HOD was just saying that ma'am cannot continue in the meeting. So that's very unfortunate. I think we can wind up then.
Sure, sure. All right, Shalini.
So it was a wonderful session, and I think we had a very good participation also in numbers. So I think it may this be a new opening for all of us. May all everybody among us think about the climate, and may everyone be concerned about it. And since in university, I think I'm sure that it is women who are the majority. So if we have a very good potential to begin uh, several initiatives towards the protection of nature and thereby making ourselves safe. So
Yeah.
let this be a very good beginning. And thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot for your presentation.
Thank
It
you.
was a wonderful thing. Thank you. And thanks to all the part,
Thank
participators.
you.
And we will meet. Hopefully, we shall meet next week, next Wednesday.